On today's episode, I'm joined by the wonderful Bruce from HPC in the USA. So we can talk about everything US and certainly how Bruce has been able to manage virtual teams. Welcome back to Weekly Q&A with Steph. We are up to episode number 29 and I'm joined by a very special guest, Bruce from HPC in the US. So Bruce, we've just had 2 wonderful days at XeroCon. Everyone is, I'm assuming, still hungover today after the nice couple of days that we've had. How have you found Australia and XeroCon?
It was awesome. Had a great time. Seen lots of old friends, made new friends from all over the world. The whole community and ecosystem has it's a really neat thing. It's very different.
Awesome. So give me a 30-second spiel on HPC, how many staff you have, and how you operate.
Right. So HPC used to be called Harshman Phillips and Company. We've been around 24 years. I co-founded it in 1992. Audit and tax firm, first 20 years. Decided to kind of make a change about 5 years ago. Decided I wanted recurring revenue. So I started doing back office stuff. We were a Peachtree shop, not a QuickBooks shop. I met Rod Drury in November 2011, and I think it was his first trip to the U.S. and kind of told me what he was doing and what was going to happen in the accounting industry. I kind of bought in hook, line, and sinker, went all in, which is what I usually do. And within 6 months, we were the largest partner in the U.S. At the time, we had the staff kind of turned over. This is kind of the interesting part. I don't have anybody with me now that was with me in 2011.
Wow.
Not one.
Wow. Clean slate.
And it happened over time. So, this one left and the hiring for the new model. And then slowly but surely, we had an office in Atlanta, Georgia, 2-story brick building. I think we had 6 people in the office at the time. Slowly they started either leaving or moving away. We were hiring people in Wisconsin and California, and before you knew it, I basically had a virtual company, and it just kind of happened. And now I'm selling my office building, hopefully.
So it's interesting that it wasn't really a planned, you didn't go into business saying, right, we are now going to have a virtual only business. It seemed like it was quite organic.
Absolutely. So I remember the first one when we hired the first person remotely, we kind of had to figure out, well, let's bring them to Atlanta, train them for a couple of weeks, get to know them, stay at the house, and then slowly adopting tools so we could communicate and work with people that were not in the same office, and that was kind of how it all figured. So first it was going paperless, then it was finding communication tools, then it was putting in place processes, all organically over time.
And do you think it's harder running your business with a virtual team, or do you think you just adapt to the different challenges?
It's harder. I think it's harder. It's just very, very, very different. You have to work on culture, which, culture is one of those things you can't really work on it. You can just kind of have to live and breathe it and make it happen. Hiring, training, supervising is exponentially more difficult when you're not in the same city. And frankly, when, I think at XeroCon San Francisco, I met 2 of my team that I'd never even met before because I've never even met them.
Which is nice.
Yeah, it was very nice.
So what is probably the 1 or 2 really, really good things about having a virtual team?
So the ability to hire the best talent, no matter where they are, hands down. That's the thing that comes to number 1. I think I think the other thing is to be able to provide people the ability to live anywhere. So we had, I think once we started doing this, I think we had 3 different people move because they could. And I remember one of my people, she was scared to death about telling me that she was going to move from the Bay Area to Southern California. She finally said it to me, and I was like, why are you scared of asking me? You can go wherever the hell you want. You can go wherever you want. And I don't care, as long as you get your work done and you communicate.
Yeah. And obviously it's a growing trend at the moment that people are working from home even if they have offices, so commute times are down and all those wonderful things. But it does open up your ability to hire mums even potentially who still have young kids at home and need to juggle
So I love telling the stories about, we have certain people who, and we're big about our calendars. Everybody's calendar has to be up to date, so you never have to look for people. You know where they are, you know what they're doing. We have one person that every day between 3 and 4, she picks up her kids. Nobody schedules calls for her at that time. We have other people who, at this time, they do this. But they're working at 10 o'clock at night. They're working on Sunday. We all communicate, and it's a pretty close-knit group. So it is good to be able to hire different kinds of people with different needs. Some have to take care of elderly parents. They all get to do that and not have to worry about their job.
Which is an awesome segue, because I think the thing that is always top of mind for people when they think about working with virtual or distributed teams, it's what are kind of the 3 or 5 things that you might have made a mistake on and have changed that you really need to know before you start.
So I think the biggest thing that we've learned along the way is a lot of people, I've done videos and I've done interviews and they talk about, the kind of culture we have, and people would like to come join us, which is another benefit, by the way. But what happened is people come say, I want to work from home. I want the flexibility. Well, that's not really what it's all about. You have to remind them that it's a two-way street. It's not a we give and you take. I mean, it goes both ways. And I think the second thing is that flexibility is not doesn't take the place of accountability. You still got to let people know where you are. You still got to get the work done. You still got to to be able to perform and deliver. So flexibility does not replace accountability.
That's a very, very good message. So what are some of the things that you've done to have a look at that accountability, and what are you thinking about for the future as we all still continually change?
So we were fortunate enough to kind of start really focusing on value. So we try to not focus on the inputs and not to focus on outputs, and it takes time to change the mindset and change your team and change the way you think about it. So we've gone to billing, because we're doing value bill. We can bill and collect in advance, so that's good. So I'm finally at the point now where we're actually going to stop tracking time, which is a biggie. Being a CPA for 30 years, I mean, doing timesheets. I stopped doing timesheets about 2 years ago myself, but I still had my team do it. So I think the whole value prop, billing and collecting in advance, focusing on the projects and the tasks and the due dates, and understanding each team member with different metrics for our own businesses. Like we help our clients with metrics, revenue per employee, tasks per week, touches per week, things like that I think are going to become more important. We had one staff person who, we'd have one staff person we were measuring the email volume with the system we were using. This team person would send 50 emails a week. This one was sending 5.
Wow. That's a huge difference, isn't it?
He wasn't doing his work, and we figured it out. And eventually the client started complaining, but this was the indicator that the stuff wasn't getting done and it was supposed to get done. So now we're actually building out checklists, due dates, and we're really looking forward to getting that into Karbon and actually having complete what's the word?
Complete visibility for me.
Complete visibility across the firm. Everybody sees everything, nowhere to hide. I've heard people, it might have even been you, talk about contests and things like that, which I think are a healthy competition is good. Everybody wins.
Yeah. And in terms of communication and building, culture and building accountability, what are kind of the 2 or 3 apps or tools that you use in your business that really help with that?
So we put in Slack last year, and I can't take credit for that. It was Blake when he joined us from CloudSource. Got us on Slack, and I remember when we did it, because I'll sometimes get a little overwhelmed with, I got to learn another tool. I mean, I'm so damn busy, and I'm not going to do that. And I remember I was in New Zealand at Xerocon last year when we put it in, and I just fell in love with it. And I happened to be out of the office, so I wasn't working on client stuff. So within a week, I was in, we were in, and Slack has been awesome for us. The second one is Zoom, which I actually learned from Stuart McLeod, because they were using Zoom to communicate with Australia. We tried GoToMeeting, we tried Google Hangouts, and for different reasons. We actually were on Link at one time with Microsoft, which we really liked, but there's either limitations on number of team members or sharing or visibility. They all have their little nuances. But I would say Slack and Zoom for us, and I'm sure I'm forgetting something, are 2 of the key
certainly
ones.
communication tools, they must be fabulous when you've got different people from all over the place.
I live on Zoom.
Excellent.
I
That
was
is
doing a
awesome.
Zoom call right here, and we were talking at the beginning.
You were just before. All right. So, in terms of the next phase for you, are you going to ever have an office again?
Probably not. I will say I like the idea of the co-working spaces.
Yes.
And the reason I like it is I think sometimes it's good to be around people and get the energy and everything. And I think that's important. So, you can only go to coffee shops so much. You can only work out of your living room or so much. So I think that the co-working, but I also think that's it's good for culture. It's good for clients. It's good for recruiting. It's good for biz dev. So I think co-working is good, and frankly, there's some great things like WeWork. I've been to the WeWork offices in LA, San Francisco, Boston, and Atlanta, and you can pay a really small amount and be able to go do what you need to do. No, I do not see ever having an office again.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you very much, Bruce, for joining me on this weekly Q&A episode. I know you're doing a lot of stuff between Australia and the US, and we obviously have a lot of fun collaborating with you on clients, and certainly that's a big focus and a big push for you and for any of those Australian accountants out there who are thinking about or have clients who are thinking about going to the US. I can highly recommend you get in contact with Bruce. You've got some fabulous white papers and webinars out there about Australian businesses moving to the US in the first place, and a nice new webinar with Lisa from Interactive on that same topic as well.
So basically what we've tried to do is create all this free educational content we find that whether it be the accountants or the small businesses, whether it be Australia, the UK, or wherever, that the more information we provide before they start, at the beginning when they start thinking about expanding their business, the more information that they have, the better it is for them and the better it is for everybody. So we've put together like a 50-page guide of all the things you have to know about expanding into the US. It's everything from forming your business to hiring people to all the nuances and all the complexities. And then we started doing a monthly webinar where we kind of take one topic and talk about it. And the idea of doing it from Australia with Lisa in one of our partners' offices is pretty good. So we're working with Steph, we work with Lisa, and it's been a great relationship. And it's all about basically the world becoming a smaller place and businesses doing, having transactions cross-border. Everybody's doing it, and I think it's a great opportunity for everybody.
It certainly is. Well, thank you, and that's a wrap on this episode. I will see you all next week.